Welcome to the Librarian's Midnight Library. I'm your librarian, and the world has gone quite enough for a story. Today, we step into the warm golden glow of the Hearthside Archive to uncover a tale of comfort. Take a deep breath, leave the world behind, and let's begin. Memory is a strange kitchen. Sometimes the ingredients are bitter, and sometimes they are so sweet they make your heart ache. For Elias, memory was something he kept locked in a cardboard box in the back of his pantry. It was his grandmother's recipe book, a tattered, floor stained ledger filled with the secrets of a woman who knew how to feed a soul as well as a stomach. But there was one page Elias had never touched. It was a recipe written in a hurried, shaky hand, titled simply August 12, 1974. There were no instructions on how to sear the meat or how long to boil the water. Instead, the recipe listed feelings: 1 cup of afternoon sunlight, a handful of cicada song, 2 tablespoons of the dust from a gravel road, and at the bottom, in faded red ink, add salt until you can taste the tears. On a lonely Tuesday evening, when the rain was drumming a mournful rhythm against his kitchen window, Elias decided to cook. He followed the list. He didn't use real dust or sunlight, of course. He used the things that represented them. He used heirloom tomatoes, the color of a setting sun. He used sea salt that tasted of old oceans. He used garlic that smelled like his grandmother's garden after a summer storm. As the oil began to shimmer in the heavy cast iron pan, the air in the kitchen changed. It didn't just get warmer, it got colder. Sizzle. The sound of the tomatoes hitting the pan didn't sound like cooking anymore. It sounded like the static of an old radio. Elias stirred the wooden spoon, and as the steam rose, the white tiles of his modern kitchen began to melt away. The floorboards beneath his feet turned from cold linoleum to sun-warmed oak. The smell of the rain vanished, replaced by the scent of mown hay and honeysuckle. He wasn't in his apartment anymore. He was standing on the back porch of his grandmother's farmhouse. It was August 12th, 1974, and there she was. She was sitting at the wooden table, snapping green beans into a ceramic bowl. The sound was so clear it made Elias' breath catch in his throat. She looked exactly as he remembered, her apron dusted with flour, her hair pinned back with a silver clip that caught the light. "You are late for dinner, Elias," she said, without looking up. Her voice was like the sound of a well-loved book being opened. I didn't know I was coming," Elias whispered. "The store knows," she replied, gesturing toward the kitchen door. "A memory is just a meal that hasn't been finished yet. Sit, the sun is just about to go down." Yet in the golden hour, that brief moment when the world turns to honey before the blue of evening takes over, they didn't talk about the future. They didn't talk about the fact that she had been gone for 20 years. They talked about the taste of the bread. They talked about the way the light hit the hills. Elias felt the heaviness in his chest. The grief he had carried for 2 decades began to dissolve layer by layer. With every bite of the meal, he realized that he hadn't just been cooking a recipe, he had been building a bridge. But as the sun touched the horizon, the food on his plate began to cool, and as it cooled, the porch began to flicker. The sound of the cicadas grew faint, replaced by the hum of his modern refrigerator. Don't let it get cold, Elias, his grandmother whispered, her hand briefly touching his. Her skin felt like warm parchment. Once the heat leaves the plate, the door closes. But remember, the book is always in the pantry. With one final lingering taste of August, the farmhouse vanished. Elias found himself standing in his kitchen, holding a wooden spoon. The pan was empty. The stove was off. He sat at his small kitchen table in the dark, taste of 1974 still dancing on his tongue. He picked up the pen and turned to the back of the book. On a fresh white page, he began to write November 14, 2025. He wrote, one cup of evening rain, the silence of a long awaited peace, a pinch of starlight. He closed the book and placed it back in the pantry. Outside, the rain was still falling, but for the first time in a very long time, Elias didn't feel the cold. He felt full. The meal is finished and the earth has settled into embers. Thank you for joining me in the Hearthside Archive here at the Librarian's Midnight Library. If there is a recipe in your life that tastes like home, hold on to it tightly. It might just be a map. Subscribe to keep your place by our fire. Until the next midnight, stay warm and sleep well.